Hey everyone, it's your girl Laura Williamson. Welcome back. This is Bear Speak. We got another awesome guest for you today. Guess who we have? Well, of course you can't guess. You have no idea. However, I'm going to welcome today Cameryn Tierno. She is from Spinal Energetics, or she does Spinal Energetics. Am I saying that the proper way?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in today. I'm so excited to talk about you or talk to you and talk about you. And I'm going to tell you why. So I saw this video. I saw a couple of videos. I saw a few videos. Okay, let's be clear. I saw some videos I found you on TikTok, and actually a friend sent you to me, your video. But I had originally been looking at Spinal Energetics via some other videos that I had seen on Instagram, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is really cool. How do I do this? How do I get into it? And I said, oh no, this is too much for me because I saw that I had to travel to do it, and I just could not dedicate the time. So even though I've already jumped in, ladies and gentlemen, I just dove right in. Let me be clear here. Let me introduce myself. I am Laura Williamson. I am the host. This is Bear Speak. I am a personal trainer, a Pilates instructor. I am a Reiki practitioner and a health coach. I do all the things. I'm what they call a Jane of all trades. I believe in working or training from the inside out. Now, if you know me, you know that I also do videos. So as well as listening to this podcast, if you want to work out too, the videos are also available on YouTube. And there's a plethora of them. So if you're basic, you can start in basic. You can all the way go to advanced. But long and the short of it, I'm here for you. I do this because I love what I do, but I'm also here to help you out in the best way that I can. So again, now let's really get into it. So Cameryn, now that we've already introduced you, you said your hello. I'm just going to dive right in. Tell us about yourself. Who are you?
Whoa. How much time do you have, Laura?
I got a little time. We could break the show up. This would be a part 1, part 2, whatever you need.
A series.
Yes, that's right.
So I'm Cameryn Tierno. I'm a longtime yoga and bar instructor.
Okay.
I've been teaching classes for over 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, spinal energetics and breath work facilitator. And I'm a health coach as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Again, so happy to be here. Okay, I'm gonna be okay. I'm like giddy like a schoolgirl. Okay, here we go. Okay, now, so you do all the things too. You're a Jane of all trades of sorts.
I am.
Is
I
what
would
I'm
say
hearing.
Yeah.
And again, I found you because a friend of mine found you, and she immediately thought you would be awesome as a guest. I agreed. So now here we are. And I said, tell us everything about yourself. But before we even start, to get into spinal energetics, I'm sincere when I say that. Tell us about yourself. How did you get started in everything that you do? Like, where did your journey in this industry start? How did you begin?
Yeah. It wasn't a pretty one.
Okay.
Definitely wasn't a pretty one. And I think a lot of us that are in this industry have been through the weeds, and that's how we find what works, and then we end up teaching it to other people.
Right.
So my journey started in high school. I had debilitating anxiety, and I was put on a heart monitor. I was having heart palpitations in my sleep and waking myself up, and they put me on a heart monitor for a couple weeks, and I had no events. So they said, your heart's fine, you're good to go. And that was kind of the end of the conversation. And I started doing yoga. That was back in the day when like Groupons were really big. And I had a free yoga class with my sister. And I showed up with my big baggy shirt, like t-shirt and basketball shorts and no yoga mat. I think I had socks on. And I just kept going. Something in me was like, just keep doing this. And 6 months after practicing consistently, it's like, oh my goodness, I haven't had any heart palpitations. And I feel a lot better. Like it must have been anxiety. And I actually, during COVID, found paperwork from Children's Hospital diagnosing me with obsessive compulsive disorder.
Okay.
Really like low grade OCD, which I didn't realize that I had, but I was always just so anxious, and I couldn't wear jeans and I couldn't wear socks or sneakers. Just always on edge. And yoga really improved my life. And so 6 months in, I was 17. I had just turned 18 when I did my yoga teacher training. Like, just became old enough to be able to do the training.
Wow.
And I was more so doing it to learn more about this practice that I loved so much. And the moment I started teaching, everyone was like, Cam, you have such a gift for this.
Okay.
So I started teaching yoga right out the gate and started in college. And I started studying exercise science and entrepreneurship because I was like, I'm going to open a yoga studio.
That's right.
And I graduated college. I managed a bar and yoga studio for a couple years. And it's like, this is wonderful input for what to do and what not to do when I opened my own place.
Okay.
And the pandemic hit. And I was actually approached to buy someone's yoga studio. And the banks were like, we're not giving you any money
Yeah, it was
right
a tough
now.
time for a lot of people.
Totally. And I ended up working for a gym. I actually got really sick.
Okay.
As like I went through a huge growth during the pandemic, like a lot of people have.
Right.
And I burnt myself out managing the yoga studio, and my hair was falling out. I was throwing up. I was bloated all the time. My anxiety was awful. And I stumbled upon functional nutrition and turned my whole life around, like learned how to appropriately eat and supplements to just support myself every day. I came off birth control. I had no idea how much it can impact your body. I started eating meat again.
Okay.
And I felt incredible.
Okay.
And then I rode that wave for a few years and I got sick again in 2023.
Okay.
And at this point, I was doing the yoga and I was eating well. I was working out and I started doing functional nutrition again and it wasn't working. And I'm like, but I'm doing all the right things. So I don't understand why I'm getting worse instead of getting better.
Okay.
And that's when I found Spinal Energetics on Instagram and breath work. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I've been working so hard on healing my physical body and also my mental body a little bit with yoga that I totally had no idea about my emotions and my nervous system and its impact on the physicality of my body.
That's right.
Like I've been so open to healing, but there's this piece that nobody talks about, that nobody knows about the somatic healing.
Right.
And I just did a couple sessions on Zoom because, as you said, there was nobody in the area to
Right.
receive spinal energetics from. And even just through the computer, it was life-changing.
Wow.
And I did my training online, like I think a month later.
Wow. Okay.
I didn't really think about it. I just signed up. I just enrolled and I did the thing.
So it was because of your own personal experience and what you went through with your body that you said, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to get certified in this. And same for yoga.
Yeah.
So now I don't want to make this about me because it's not about me. It's about you. So I want to say that I came into Reiki. And just to be clear, I bring up Reiki not because it is the same thing, because it is not the same. And you and I had this conversation. But before I go there with you, for me, my Reiki started when I started going for sessions myself because similar to yourself, I had 3 herniated discs and couldn't attribute it to anything. And as a trainer, people would say, well, what did you do? And I'd say, I don't know, which if you've been in the industry for almost 20 years, it doesn't really make sense. How can you not know how you have 3, not 1, not 2, which I thought I had 1, by the way, and not know what you did to your body? Because I'm myself, I consider myself extremely well connected to what's going on and tuned to what's happening here. However, long and short of it, I came to find out once I started meditating, I noticed that there was a release or relief of pressure on my spine. And I thought, wow, how come that feels better? That's weird. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to do it again. And I realized it was consistent. It was consistent. It was getting better. It was getting better. But I still had other things. And I said, well, something said, you know what, maybe you should try something in addition too. Because I got to a point, hit a wall, and realized there was some emotional stuff I needed to obviously work on, aside from therapy, talk therapy, that it felt like something was missing. Like I wasn't quite, I couldn't explain it. It was a weird feeling. I was like, you know what, let me go over here and let me try some Reiki. And then after that, I don't know how many sessions I had. I asked the practitioner, I said, hey, can you tell me who you went to, how you started doing this? Yeah. And that was my healing journey. Aside from the physical, like you said, that's when I learned, like, oh, have all these things that aren't being addressed. You can sit on them. But I'm not going to go much further than that. So all that being said, let me be clear, though. Reiki, based on the conversation we have already had, is not the same thing. Can you please explain what is spinal energetics? How does that happen?
Yeah. Yeah, it's influenced by Reiki. So there are some similarities. And I actually have my Reiki level 1, but I didn't do anything with it. So spinal energetics it was founded by a chiropractor and counselor, Dr. Sarah Jane. She's in Australia. So we're an Australian modality.
Okay.
And she fused a boatload of Eastern and Western modalities and philosophies together. Chiropractics and yoga and meditation and Buddhism and craniosacral and osteocranial and shamanism, inner dance, and just it's like the best of all of them together.
Okay.
And the idea is that we go through stress in life, trauma in life, something that's too much, too fast, too soon, and we store it in our body, specifically in the energy of the spine.
Okay.
And we're not really encouraged in our culture to feel our feelings. We're encouraged to talk about our feelings in therapy, but that's not the same as actually feeling them.
Right.
And so then they manifest as different chronic things: back pain, insomnia, anxiety, depression.
What are you talking about? Manifestation. Like, what do you... Okay, because you understand someone's going to be sitting somewhere and they're going to hear this and like, this is... I'll use the word malarkey. This is nonsense. Cut it out with all that noise. That's ridiculous. I mean, but how do you know that's true? Like, I mean, yeah, that can't be true. So what? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, we agree as a community that our emotions have a physical impact on the body. Because if you think like my boyfriend in high school, I found out was cheating on me with my best friend, and I didn't eat for 3 days. And when I did eat, I threw it up. Nobody was telling me to go to the emergency room because I have digestive issues. They were like, you're very upset and emotional about your boyfriend. So we understand that there's a connection. Or when, if there's a comedian going up to do a set and he starts clearing his throat, we get that connection. But when it's chronic, we disconnect from that belief. It couldn't possibly be related to the emotions. So we get it, but only to a degree.
Okay. So what you're saying is we live in a society that doesn't think we should let people know our vulnerabilities because that might mean that we are weak. So we have to act as if everything is okay, even though we might not necessarily be feeling as if we are okay. Is that where we're going? Is that what we're doing today?
But even... we've gotten so good at suppressing it that we don't even know that we're suppressing it. Like I've been told for so long, like the flushing in my cheeks is because of anger in my body. But I say I'm not angry. I'm not an angry person, which is actually because I'm so good at suppressing anger, I don't even know how to connect to it.
Yeah.
But as human beings, we're supposed to get angry about things. We're supposed to have a range of emotions. So when there's that much of a disconnect from an emotion, that's actually where there's a problem rather than it being a benefit.
So how do you get people to connect to their emotions when they don't even realize that there's something that, or some things that they are sitting on that haven't, because for me, this is, in my mind, this is unprocessed emotion, right? So how do you get someone to access that when they think everything is, because me personally, I mean, I could tell you, I had a friend who passed away, and you couldn't have told me that I thought I was fine. I was like, oh, I'm fine. This is part of life. This is how things go. Everything is good. And then I remember other friends saying to me like, yeah, no, Laura, we didn't think that. You were the only person who thought that. Like, we knew the relationship you had. We know that things weren't okay. They couldn't have been okay for you. And I honestly believed until this day that I wasn't in mourning. Now that's a big deal. And I go extreme that way because for me, I had already conditioned myself like I'm fine, right? But obviously I was not because it was showing up physically in other ways. So there are many, many people out there who've been conditioned to be like, the words again, suck it up, buttercup, right?
Yep.
And if you can't, it's like you're weak. Like something's wrong with you if you can't get over it. But my way of thinking about it is, in order to process, feel the feels, to get to the other side, to heal it, release it, and move on. But I think sometimes when stuff shows up, we don't process it. We walk around with it. That's the baggage that everyone's always talking about. And then that stuff is unprocessed, and then it ekes out or leaks out in other places where we don't realize it half the time. But again, as a society, we're not thinking that way because, again, it's weakness. So what do we do?
Yeah. Yeah. And Nicole Sachs, she's a huge mentor of mine. I've been doing a lot of her courses, says in her train of thought that our chronic symptoms are distracting us from our emotional pain because we see our emotions as more detrimental and more painful than the actual back pain or insomnia or jaw tension. It's easier to be in physical pain than to sit there with your grief.
But it's not helping anybody.
No.
It's not helping us. And it shows up in the nastiest ways, and it doesn't mean we're bad people. It just means that we start to walk around like zombies in some way, afraid to feel our feelings. And then when they come up, they show up not in the best way. And then hence now we live in a society where we have all these health issues going on too. And they're showing up in a lot of different ways, as you know, as a professional in this field. For me, it shows up because I'm also a personal trainer. It shows up in, it can be weight gain, it can be weight loss, it could be, something as simple as a cold and getting sick all the time. It's like, geez, I don't know why I get my immune system. It's not that great. I don't know why my immune system isn't that good. And it's just so many different ways that it's showing up. But I think there's such a disconnect because we're running. What if someone isn't like you? Or what if they're not like me? And it doesn't occur to them, well, maybe I should take a yoga class. Maybe I should take a Pilates class. Maybe I should. You see what I mean? How does someone get on that path or that journey to recognize that aside from talk therapy, maybe there's something deeper?
I think you have to be desperate. I think
you might be right about that.
Yeah,
I
spent thousands of dollars on supplements and labs and came to a point I literally prayed one night. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. I'm done with this. And that's when I found spinal energetics. And you have to be desperate enough to be like, I'm going to try this woo-woo looking thing where someone's making sounds and waving their hands, and maybe I'll get some relief from it. I don't think it's usually someone's first thought to try something like this unless you grew up in a house where your mom was making you eat kale and burning incense and you had crystals.
Right.
So yeah, my clients find me because they've tried everything else and nothing's working.
So, okay. So you talk about crystals, you talk about incense, but our conversation was there is science behind what it is that you're doing. Because again, there's going to be a few people who are sitting out there who are going to be like, oh no, I don't like how that's looking. That doesn't look quite, that looks woo-woo to me. So can you tell us what science has to do with anything it is that has to do with your spinal energetics? And I don't say it in a disrespectful way.
Absolutely.
But I'm going for the naysayers, the people who don't understand, because I think there's more to healthcare and self-care than it's not always so black and white. And I think sometimes you have to be open to other possibilities. So what's some of the science behind what it is that you're doing?
Yeah. So aside from spinal energetics first, we agree as a society and science that we actually emit energy.
Right.
When you go get your heart checked, they do an EKG, which is checking the electricity of your heart. But then when we move it into a modality like Reiki or like spinal energetics, it's woo-woo when there's actually science behind it. So we get that. And like I mentioned, we understand that the emotions impact the physical body on a small scale. We understand it. Sometimes I think we haven't put words to it before, but we get that. But there's actually a very strict formula that we as spinal energetics practitioners follow. It's very little to do with intuition. I use my intuition a lot in a session, but it's actually there is like an X plus Y equals Z kind of an equation that we follow that anybody can learn how to do, that we are encouraged to really lean into every session rather than just going off our intuition, which can be great and it can be really helpful, but at that point it's not spinal energetics anymore. Right. So it actually uses the same assessment that a chiropractor would do, because your legs, whichever leg is shorter, tells us which side of the body the tension's on, and whichever Achilles is tighter tells us if the tension is up high or down low on the body too. So there's a roadmap that your body tells me, where it sends me basically arrows. This is where the tension is, and it's usually spot on.
Okay. All right. So there's some science backing, but if you see the video, like which to me was actually, I thought it was really beautiful, but again, that's me. But for someone looking at that, who's been looking for answers in pain, who's your client? Who's the person that you work with, or the people that you work with? What's the common denominator?
Yeah.
Usually?
Trying everything. It's still feeling stuck.
Okay.
Like that kind of desperation, like I mentioned, and an openness.
Okay.
Those are the type of people that I work with that take really good care of themselves, and they eat the clean food and they work out and they do the acupuncture and the massage, but there's still something missing in them, and they're open. I mean, this door with spinal energetics can go so deep, where I've had past life regression, and it can be kind of like an ayahuasca experience. So also an interest in spirituality too. And you don't have to come in already knowing those things, but just an openness of like, okay, there's something more here. I don't know what it is, but I'm ready to explore it. That's really who my ideal client is.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So now, can anyone do this?
Receive it?
Physically do what you do. Be a practitioner. Yes. Can anyone do what you're doing? Yeah.
Yes.
I don't have to be woo-woo.
Nope.
You sure?
There's actually a lot of chiropractors that do this work, because it makes the chiropractic session more efficient. And massage therapists, myofascial release practitioners, where they'll do spinal before they do the physical work, and then the clients have a much better experience.
You know what? Thank you for explaining that, because when I looked at the videos and I saw this was something that was created by someone who was a chiropractor, I thought, oh, well, I'm not a chiropractor also. You just reminded me. So you don't necessarily have to be a chiropractor?
No. So for an online training, they recommend that you need to have a background in something in like the fitness and wellness field. Okay. Because they're not meeting with you in person. But the in-person training has a little bit more of an openness. And they tend to accept more people because it's in person. So you get a little bit, I don't want to say a deeper training, because I had an incredible training just from doing my training online. But yeah, they're extra particular about who they pick for online training.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the criteria? I mean, you said they choose people who are already in the industry, people who have, I'm a fitness professional, so that's obviously that doesn't count. But what if I'm a nurse? Obviously, that's someone who, no?
I would even say a fitness professional counts.
Okay.
Therapists do it.
Okay.
Chiropractors, massage therapists, they really want to make sure you're able to hold space for somebody else.
Okay.
And being a fitness professional, you absolutely do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I understand. Okay. Because I'm thinking in terms of like what my work or my business experience is, like how many people have I worked with? What have I done that indicates that I understand the body and so on and so forth. That's what I was thinking when I asked the question. So what is your process when you start working with someone? How does someone find you one? And how do you make a determination if this is something that will be good for them to do or to even try?
Yeah. So most people actually found me on TikTok.
Okay.
Which I was so against for the longest time.
Okay.
I think I didn't want to get TikTok because I knew I would scroll on it and go down the TikTok hole. But my business coach, she's actually a spinal energetics practitioner in Denver. She's had huge success on TikTok. So I had an event that wasn't really selling out. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to post it on TikTok. And it filled the event. And so I've just been getting people from all walks of life finding me on TikTok. Instagram too, but TikTok seems to be the place where it's at. And Spinal Energetics has a directory on their website. So people
Okay.
find Spinal Energetics and then they're like, where can I do this near me? And they find a map of people around the globe that offer it. But it's pretty much good for everybody. We say 12 to 75 age-wise because we're an insured modality.
Oh, nice.
So it's really
Okay.
safe for people below 12 and above 75, but insurance would be like, what are you doing? So for insurance purposes, we don't. But really, anybody who has any major like mental illness that's unstable, it wouldn't be great for because it can flare things.
Okay.
And we don't want to put them in an unstable condition. Or someone with debilitating pain because it can flare things, like nerve pain. We usually want them to try to treat it so that it's more sustainable and comfortable before we start doing spinal energetics.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's great for anybody, really.
Wow. Okay. You said a whole lot just then.
Yeah,
so
I did.
Okay. So so you actually take insurance.
No, I'm insured.
You're insured. Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
they tell
Okay.
me who I can and can't work with age-wise.
Ah,
So to keep
okay.
it safe, we just do 12 to 75 as a
12 to
modality.
75. Okay. All right. Because I was like, wait a minute. You take insurance. I'm like, oh, okay. You're going to get more people then. All right. That's a dream of mine that somehow insurance one day figures out that there's other medicine or other methods of working with people besides just.
I do have to say, I had one client who's a dear friend of mine. She's also in this industry, and she had a car accident, and she wanted to get some sessions from me. So she said she saw me for treatment for the car accident. I wrote up an invoice for her, and insurance covered it. So she paid me, and she got reimbursed. She did it all on her end. I don't deal with insurance, but there are ways that we can play with it a little bit. I mean, I can always make a document in Canva about what I was treating you, quote unquote, for and throw it to insurance and see if they'll send any money back. So it's always something I'm willing to do, but it's definitely not a guarantee, unfortunately. Hopefully someday.
What other services do you provide besides spinal energetics? Is there anything, an add-on or what else?
Yeah. So I teach yoga still.
Right.
I'm still very much a yoga teacher and a bar teacher at multiple different studios. I do breath work as well.
Okay.
I use breath work more for my own spiritual practice. So I'll do groups. I love spinal energetics and breath work groups.
Okay.
And I travel for those. I do them on Zoom too. But I find that groups make this work more accessible because it tends to be cheaper, and I'll travel like an hour and a half to go to a studio where there's not a practitioner nearby.
Okay.
So those have been incredible. And I just started a program, actually. I ran it in the summer and I'm running it again next year, called Intuition Activation.
Okay.
Where it's a 6-week course where I teach people about nervous system regulation, like what it even means to be in fight, flight, freeze, fawn, daily breath work practices so that you can regulate yourself in the moment. And then once a week we do spinal energetics one week and breath work the next, and we alternate so that you can clear out kind of like the gunk and what's stuck, and also use the breath work to visualize. I use breath work for my manifestation practice. So you can visualize what you want to call into your life. We're going to do it for manifestation for 2026. And then people have lifetime access to that as well.
Okay. That's
which is
nice.
great because
Yeah,
the
that's nice.
recordings of spinal energetics work as well.
Okay.
Just like watching a movie, right? The movie still resonates with people 5 years later.
Right.
Spinal energetics can resonate with people down the road too. So I'm really excited about it. I haven't done it with spinal energetics before, but my previous clients that have done spinal with me and did intuition activation said that spinal would just be so beneficial to add in. So I'm looking forward to the program because I feel like it's such a good foundation for people who are looking to get into nervous system regulation.
Okay. So it's it's not funny that you mentioned it, but I feel like these are words that have been coming up quite a bit lately. Regulating your nervous system, right? So my question is, what does that even mean? Regulating your nervous system. What does that look like if I'm regulating my nervous system? What does it mean to do that?
Thank you for asking because it's so misunderstood.
Okay.
And for the longest time when I was teaching yoga, I thought that we should just be calm all the time.
Okay.
And that we would do like the deep psychological and physiological sighs of the
Yeah.
And I realized through doing my breathwork training in particular that's actually not great for everybody, and that some people need different breath work. And so we're not supposed to be calm all the time.
Right.
We're supposed to be in the relevant state for what we're doing. So right now we're upregulated. We're actually in a fight or flight response because we need to be mobile and talking to each other and focused. But then when I leave here and I go have lunch, my system should downregulate so that I can rest and digest. So the issue is when we get stuck in fight or flight, or when we get stuck in the parasympathetic nervous system response, the freeze or fawn. We're supposed to be flexible. Upregulate when you're working, downregulate when you go home to eat and sleep. And there's this misnomer that it's supposed to be calm all the time, which is not the case.
So how do I know when I haven't shifted between one and the other? You see what I mean?
Yeah.
What are the telltale signs of something like that?
Yeah. Fight or flight, if you think about it from like a prehistoric standpoint, you know, we're being chased by a bear or we're fighting the predator. So you can feel your blood flow actually move to your limbs. And that's why when people are stuck in fight or flight, their digestion shuts down because you're not sending blood flow to your digestive organs. You can see changes in people's pupils. They might get really sweaty. It's kind of, their body is actually preparing to fight or flee. Freeze and fawn is when you go into nervous system parasympathetic shutdown. Fawning is known as people pleasing. So when you can't get around your predator, you can't fight or flight, you people please to keep them at bay, to keep yourself safe.
Oh, interesting.
And freeze is when you kind of stop like a deer in headlights and you hope that the predator will go away. So these people see extreme fatigue because your body actually is like, you need to sleep. That's when you see hair loss. People lose their periods when they're in that state for a long period of time. It's really interesting. It's very wise of the body to do that.
So when you say that a person would need a certain amount of awareness of themselves in order to notice that these changes are or are not happening, that you understand? Because now there's an awareness here now that a lot of us don't have because we're here, a lot of us. You know, I need to pick up the kids from school. I need to drop them off. I need to get to work. I need to be there at a certain time. Thanksgiving is next week, Where are we going? Are we going to the in-laws? Are we going? You understand? Like the brain is constantly going. It's not necessarily like, oh, geez, I'm still going. I should sit down. I need to sit down. I don't have time to sit down. I'm just going to keep going. So some of us, a lot of us are like that a lot of the time. And then even when we sit for 5 minutes, it's just like, it's like all of a sudden, okay, I need to get back up again, right? So how does someone work with that? Again, are we still thinking or going back to the idea of we need to get desperate? We need to get to a point where everything shuts down on us, and then for us to wake up and look around and be like, oh, crap, I should have listened.
Yeah. That's when the symptoms tend to come in. The body's like, if you're not going to slow down, then I'm going to give you a cold, or I'm going to give you debilitating back pain or a migraine so that you actually make yourself horizontal in bed for a few days and recuperate. So your body does really interesting things. It's always working for you. And when you start to understand the nervous system and why your body's doing what it's doing, it's such a miracle, and it works in wonderful ways that it's always trying to keep us safe. And we live in a world where there's so much stimulus, where we have a phone ringing and there's someone talking in the hallway and there's someone going by the window. And so we're constantly on this, just looking to make sure, are we safe? Are we safe? Are we safe? Are we safe? And then we need to stop and give our body a moment to be like, okay, I'm safe. I'm safe. And so all my spinal energetics clients and my breathwork clients and my programs, we start with this very unsexy practice of breath awareness, where you just simply look at what your breath is doing, because you can't start to manipulate your breath and change your breath and do all this fancy transformational breath work if you don't know what the heck your breath is doing in the first place.
All right, so here's what I'm about to do right now. I'm going to put you right on the spot, right now, right here.
Yeah.
Can you give us one quick something that people could do like right now? Something easy, quick and easy. They're at work right now and their brains are going a mile a minute. Is there something simple like right then and there that they could do to kind of, You know you need to eat lunch. You haven't eaten yet. You probably should stop. Don't stop at McDonald's, please. You should probably stop and pick up a little something to eat something. But before you do that, can you take a breath in the car or wherever you are right now? Just take a moment, breathe, and start again. Is there something real quick that you could give to our listeners to do if they're in that position at this point in time?
Yeah. I come back to my senses.
How
What
do you
I
do that?
feel? I feel the temperature of the air on my skin, my clothing on my skin, the seat underneath me. I taste my coffee in my mouth. I hear people laughing in the hallway. I think I smell someone's coffee. It smells really good in here. And I can see, it smells divine. And I see the backs of my eyelids. I'm kind of seeing this color red. And then all of a sudden I go from being in my brain to being in my body. I'm here. I'm in this present moment. That has been, they say to do that too when people are having a panic attack.
Okay.
Like actually look at where you are in space because then your brain can't be thinking about the past and it can't be thinking about the future because you're tasting what you're tasting right now and you're smelling what you're smelling right now. It just helps reorganize you. And it's not fancy and it's not pretty and it doesn't cost $1,000. People want to spend all this money on all these things when the simplest thing you can do is feel your breath in your body and connect to your body through your senses.
So be present.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So now we know who your clients are. We know what your approach is. Is there any advice that you could give to someone who is just out there living life right now? And I know that this is such a broad question to ask, but I always feel like there are pearls of wisdom that I get from each and every guest that comes through here. And if there was a piece of advice that you could give to someone, provide to someone right now, today, for themselves, based on everything that you've experienced and what you've learned and what you do, what would that be?
To stop putting your life on hold until you're quote unquote healthy or you have it all figured out. Because I've found, I remember I was crying to my dietitian one day because I was still bloated after 6-7 months of working with her. And I said, Rachel, I need to figure out this bloating because I'm not going on dates with people because I'm bloated. And she said, well, what if you're bloated another 6 months from now? You just put your whole life on hold for that. And through more and more of this somatic work that I've done, this Buddhist saying of the obstacles are the path. Like, what if your obstacles that you're going through are actually the journey? And you should just live your life now. Like, I've put my bloating, I'm still working through bloating. It's 30 years of stuff that I'm unpacking. And I'm like, forget about the bloating. I'm going to go to the gym today. I'm going to go out on a date tonight. I'm going to go socialize. And, you know, I find when I do those things, my symptoms actually decrease because I'm not hyperfixating on them as much. So I would say if you're going through something right now, lean into it and let it be the path rather than trying to fix it or wish it away or will it away and put off all these things that you could be doing now for a future date.
And so with all that, and that's amazing insight. So what is the best way for yourself as far as finding some type of balance in everything? Because if I'm hearing you right, I feel like you do a lot. I feel like you're busy. You sound like you're busy. And I think there are many, many people out there who are very busy, because what I'm also feeling is that I'm sure there are people out there who are just like, I wish I could afford to do that. I wish I could do that, right? Again, and I know I'm playing a little devil's advocate here, right? Or I don't have time to do that. I can't do that. I won't be able to do that. What have you found to be helpful to help you balance some of the things you want to do and get out of your life? How have you been able to do that?
Yeah. I try to find as much joy as I can because studies are even showing how much impact joy and gratitude can have on the body. And so I was gluten and dairy free for a long time because I thought that that gluten and dairy were the cause of a lot of my problems. And now with all this work that I've done, I realized that it wasn't. And so I don't eat it on a regular basis, but like last weekend I was on a yoga retreat and there was an Italian restaurant with homemade pasta.
Ooh.
And it was flurrying outside. We're in Manchester, Vermont. So I go with all my favorite girlfriends and we get beers, and I had this duck ragu and I just thoroughly let myself enjoy it. And I didn't shame myself for having gluten and having dairy and having a beer. I was like, this is the moment I'm in right now, and I enjoy the company that I'm with, and I'm just really enjoying this food that I'm eating, period.
Okay.
And the other thing I started doing too is I journal a lot. I
Yes, the
started
journal.
lighting candles.
Nice.
And so I'm trying to like romanticize and make the things that I do every day just a little bit more special. Just enjoying them. It's not anything crazy. I got candles off Amazon. I just shut the light off and light the candle, but it changes the whole effect of the practice. It's something I would have done anyway, just with my ugly lights on, you know? But it's so special. Now I look forward to it.
Okay. If someone is interested in what we discussed today, how could they find you?
Yeah. So my business is called TLC, or Tender Love and Care. And I'm on Instagram. It's Tender Love and Care __ wellness, and TikTok. I have it written down because I made it and I just hit the send button. I'm like, what even is it? I'm Tender Love Wellness 3 on TikTok.
Okay.
And then I also have one season of my own podcast called Somatic Sisters, where my friend Francesca and I, she's also a personal trainer. She deals with chronic acne. And so we just have very candid conversations about this journey, not from a place of like being above anybody else and having it figured out, but through what the struggle is like and what we're doing and the struggles that we're having right now. It's very honest. Sometimes I air it and I'm like, ooh, is it too honest?
Yeah. No, it's not.
Yeah.
I haven't heard it, but honestly, I think people need honest right now.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where you can find me.
Cameryn, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing your story
Of course.
and what it is that you do. I mean, it was just a pleasure having you here today. Everyone, I'm Laura. I'm your host. This is Bear Speak. We will see you next time. Have a good one out there. Take care.